Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. Voice leading. Well, it's a way of making any two, three, four chords move smoothly from one to the other. Recently, I was playing through Philip Glass's Piano Etude number 5. There's a whole bunch of them, 2 books. Number 5 is actually not a difficult piece to play, but it's a real, you can feel Glass flexing as he demonstrates how any 2 chords can be put next to each other and move smoothly with the right kind of voice leading. Let's take a look. Let's talk a little bit about what makes voice leading, especially just simple voice leading, like between 2 triads, powerful. So you all know what a triad is, but just as a very quick review, this simple stack of notes, the C triad, has 3 voices, and I think of them as individual locations. I might give this note to one person, this note to another person, and that note to a third person. They might be human voices, that's why we call it voice leading, or they might be something else. Well, if I'm going to play a simple chord progression like C, and then G, and then A minor, and then F, that's certainly one way to play it. I sort of hopped around and everything stayed the same. I got parallel fifths, and my teacher back in the day would have given me a D for that. Parallel fifths are not good. And honestly, it doesn't sound good. Plus, the hopping around is horrible. So what we do instead is we move notes around. Something very, very simple to notice, for instance, is this G could have been played up here. And suddenly, I've got this sound. C, G, and it's a much smoother effect. As I go from G to A minor, kind of everything has to move, right? Let's take this up to A, this up to E. It's all the same notes, and this back to the C where it was. Now I have C, G, A minor. All right, so this F down here obviously is not going to work, but this A could just repeat there. This C obviously is fine right where it is. Of course, it would be a bottom voice in another human being. So I'm going to move up to F here. I'm going to move this bottom note. This is the human being who is singing C or playing C, and now they're just playing C again. And now I've got a very smooth voice-led set of chords. And what it means is for the person playing this part, all they have to do is, for the person playing this part, it's also just stepwise motion, stepping down, stepping up. And here we have exactly the same motion, stepping down, stepping back, and staying there. Now I have a smooth, beautifully voice-led expression of those chords. Now, I'll tell you what, there's other ways to skin the cat, if the cat will excuse the expression. C could be played with C on top, G with B on top, A minor with A on top, F with A on top. It's the same set of chords, but it's expressed differently. And I've used the same voice leading rules. Here are my 2 voice leading rules. 2, there's only 2. As you go from chord to chord, if there's a note in common, it has to stay right in that voice. It stays right where it is. Every other voice moves only by a step. Now, you wouldn't think it would be possible to move between any 2 chords using those 2 simple rules, but it is. Even chords that use, say, modal exchange or come from completely disparate key signatures and sounds can be voice-led that way, and you can get a smooth and expressive sort of version of the progression. I'll show you what I mean. And it's used in epic music all the time. For instance, here's my C and my E. I won't win any awards for that. Listen, However, what if I play my C like this, and I take the E by moving the top voice down to B, the G goes to G sharp, the E stays right where it is. I can move basses freely, and suddenly it's a much more like satisfying effect, right? What if the E was on top? Great effect, really strong. The E is the melody. It's first harmonized by a C major chord, then it's harmonized by an E major chord. Boom. Now, the truth is, it's a lot easier than that in that Philip Glass Etude. This beautiful sound begins basically an F minor chord in second inversion. And it's written C sharp major here, but I think Phil would have said it would D flat major. And those two chords, F minor, D flat major, are definitely related. They're in the same key system. But then the next thing that happens, parallel minor to the D flat, why not? He also goes on. There's an E major, and that second inversion is so smooth. And then there's a C, same thing, completely voice-led, using those two simple rules of voice leading. If I have a note already, I have to keep it right where it is. And you can see it happening in the top voice through those four chords. Individual voices only moving by a step is a very old trick, and our ear is very, very happy with it every time we hear it. F minor, D flat major, A major, here we go. What a beautiful sound. Now, A major and F minor, they really just don't relate to each other very much at all. We can't say that there's any kind of modal exchange going on there, really. And yet, with just a very simple set of pivots, I wound up going from a very dark, kind of cloudy sound to a bright, almost exultant sound. This is the kind of trick you can use with this really powerful technique. Composers from the earliest periods of polyphonic music, when the individual voices were handed out to separate instrumentalists, and even keyboard players still thought about everything that they were doing as independent melodies, have been using this approach. It's especially important, though, for us now, because we very often find ourselves just playing block chords harmonizing melody. When you play those block chords, ask yourself this question: what do these two chords next to each other have in common? Do they have a note, two notes in common? If they do, keep them right where they are. Now, everything else only moves by a step. This is a really hard thing to discipline yourself to do, but if you'll do it, your voice leading and your sort of just arrangement chops immediately takes a giant leap up. I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe, ding the bell, you'll be notified when I do my videos. I'll see you next time.